and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of the meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public comment session. And do we have any members of the press here tonight? I don't think we do. So welcome to tonight's school committee meeting. Our first order of business is to approve our minutes from February 6th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on February 6th.
Second.
Any corrections, discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor. All right. I'm
We're
sorry?
not here.
5-0.
4-0? It's 4-0?
Oh, did I say 4?
You said
Yes.
5, it wasn't counting me tonight, yeah.
Okay.
But it's 5.
You not with us tonight?
You always
Yeah, it's
count.
just one of those nights. You're just gonna have to go with it, Sharon, okay? Feel free to jump in at any point. So, I felt it right when I walked in. Our first order, oh, no, we already did that. Chelmsford High School representatives, welcome tonight.
Thank you.
What good news do you have for us?
So the scheduling process for the 24-25 school year has already begun for students. And students in our teacher, Mrs. Glover's classes, were given the amazing opportunity to do something for children all the way around the globe. So they participated in the Memory Project, which is a youth arts organization that promotes intercultural learning and kindness between children around the world. And the students were matched with children from Syria for whom they created portraits, and these portraits were then delivered to the children. The Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild's preliminary round will be on March 2nd, and Tuesday, March 5th is an early release day. Wednesday, March 6th is a CHS Wellness Fair, and also on March 6th is a CHS Junior Career Exploration Breakfast.
Wow. Yeah, busy week next week.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hirsch, do you have any good news for us?
My good news is sitting in the audience right now.
Okay.
I just want to mention that Chelmsford wrestler Thomas Brown this past weekend won his third All-State title as a junior. And also Jose Bethel took third in the All-States. They're both going to move on to the New Englands. Coming up.
That's this weekend coming up.
Coming up. Yep, in Providence, Rhode Island. Yep.
All right, Dr. Hirsch,
Okay. I'm good.
that's it? That's all?
That's it. That's all
Okay.
we have for good news.
All right, do we have anybody registered for public input tonight?
We don't.
All right, so moving on to new business.
Gotta jump right in. And I'll actually, Linda works very closely with this group, so I'll ask Linda to give a little overview of our T fellows who are here tonight, and I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. So yearly, we have a relationship with UMass Lowell, and it brings with us the best and the brightest teachers from around the country, right? So we have them all here tonight. There's 20 this year, with 3 of them that are at Chelmsford High School. There were 3 of our teachers, and that is Madame Gabois, we have Jessica Farinetti, and Dr. Cavarud. And the rest are placed with all the other area schools. Lowell, there's Westford, there's Andover, there's South, I think Nashua. We have one that's in Nashua.
Oh, good.
Right, yeah, and it's all coming to me. So we have Andover, where else do we have? Lawrence. And Lawrence. So they work together, they have seminars, they are learning about the American education system. They work closely with our teachers are learning from them, our students are benefiting from them, and they're part of the teaching excellence and achievement Fulbright scholarship program, scholars program. So we're excited to have them here this evening, and we have a few of them that are willing to share their experiences, as well as Madame Gabois, who's here, who will share her experience on her end as a teacher. So I don't know how you set it up. Were you going to speak first?
Yes.
Great.
So thank you for having us. And I just have to say, as part of the program, it's just been a wonderful experience getting to know all of these scholars. And this is my 6th year involved in the program, and it's I can't even the words fail me, but I do speak for the other partner teachers in saying that this experience doesn't only help us in our teaching, but it also helps our students. So it's one thing for me to be able to say to students, oh, it might be like this in a French-speaking part of the world, but until somebody from that part of the world actually comes and, can share what their culture is and what their experience is as an educator, it also helps our students to know that English is being taught in many parts of the world, which I think we kind of in Chelmsford forget about the fact that, oh, well, why do I have to learn French? Or why do I have to learn Spanish? Or why do I have to learn another language? But around the world, these students are, children their same ages are learning as well. They're learning English as a second language. So I would like to introduce my partner teacher this year is Musa, and he's from Mali. And so we've had a great time co-teaching. Musa, welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
Hello, everybody. I am Musa Tangara from Mali. Veronica is my partner teacher. One of my dreams was to come to the United States to study. And I'm here now, and I think I came to the best place in Massachusetts because I could not find the school anywhere else in the United States. I could not find my partner teacher, Veronica, anywhere else in the United States. I could not find also all the teachers in the Chelmsford High School anywhere else in the United States because really it's the best place for me to share and to learn from the teachers about teaching. With Veronica, I shared pedagogical experiences with her, and she also shared a lot of pedagogical experiences with me. And the teachers in the school, they are all kind, and I observe some classes in the school, and I learn many things. And I think what I learn here, I have to share them with my colleagues when I will be back home. I'm thinking about to make changes about teaching in my home country with my colleagues, because I think positively we can change many things. And it won't be easy because change the behavior, I think, in teaching is not something easy. But I can see this situation like a revolution for me. I think to change things about teaching in my home country. And I hope and I'm sure I will win this revolution. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Thomas Kentega from Burkina Faso. Before arriving to the US, I was excited when Dr. Angulo said that Massachusetts was the hub of education in the US. So we're already excited, and when we arrived here, we're very delighted to be partnered with nice people from Chelmsford High School who use their valuable time and resources to help us grow professionally. So I can say that the professional immersion I heard that Chelmsford High School is really will really be helpful to me and my colleagues, in addition to my students back home. All right, so I was partnered with Jessica Ferronetti. Yeah, Jessica Ferronetti, and she also helped me follow some classes with other teachers who also used their time and were really willing to share what they know and also answer the different questions I had. So it was really interesting, and it was a learning experience, learning and sharing experience that I have, because I also taught some notions about my country and some games and so on. It was really interesting. And in addition to what those people did for us, they also tried to make sure that we were having a good stay here in Lowell. So they spent time with us during our excursion sometimes, and even inviting us. So, I mean, in addition to the professional development we had with them, we also spent good time with them, and this improved. I mean, this is a positive aspect of our stay here. And I think this couldn't be done without the contribution of the administration. So we are really impressed by our experience at Chelmsford High School. Really learned a lot there. All right.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ona from Mongolia, and I'm so happy to be here and almost finished our visit in school. And my friends shared all things what I felt. And for me, and I have a very high impression about project-based learning and social emotional support for a student, and art club and some different activities and some elective classes. And I was Stina's partner teacher, and also I have another partner teacher, Veronica, because we have the same interest. And so she taught me a lot of about and crafting ideas. I really like to lead projects after school. So I'm very happy because I'm taking a lot of things away from your country to implement in Mongolia. And I'm high passionate now to share a lot of things about your child-friendly environment, a lot of methodologies, and what we learned at school, and STEM projects. Yeah, I'm so happy, and I can do it. Thank you very much for hosting us, and we will share a lot. And when I was in Mongolia, I also learned English from Peace Corps volunteers who are young people from your country, and one individual can change a lot of things. So I keep telling all your students, inspire them to be good volunteers around the world. And thank you.
Any other speakers, Tom? No. Okay, he's good. So, yeah, we're very excited to have this group. There's so many workshops that happen, and it's not just the teaching, it is all the extras that go with it, the after-school activities, the excursions. They have dinners together. They've gone to people's homes. It's just, it's a beautiful connection. Everybody's very, very sad when they go home, but you've made like a friend for life, which is great.
Well, I think this is a terrific program. I always look forward to this every year. I want to give a little shout out to Sylvia. Hi, who was in my classroom yesterday at Lowell High School. Yeah, so, and it was great to have you. They had questions after you left. They found it fascinating that you teach English as a second language in another country, so they had a lot of questions about that. Does anybody on the school committee have any comments or questions for our guests?
Just comment here.
Sure.
So I really appreciate you all coming here and being part of the community and meeting the kids and spreading diversity kind of in the community. That it's really an important part of growing older, right? Being exposed to other cultures and other ideas, on both directions. And I just love that you guys come every year. It's again, it's one of our highlights every year. And then Musa, my last name is Moses, and in Persian, it's Musa. So, I got you, man. I got you. It's true.
That's great.
Yeah.
Maria?
Okay, well, I mean, I love this group.
I do.
But each one of you is an individual from your own country with your own differences that you bring to us. And hopefully we've brought some to you too. Because sometimes people think of America as just one idea, one thought, and it's not. It's each individual makes up that nation, just like yours in your nation. So it's just wonderful to see you all. I know that our students got just as much from you as you've gotten from them and from the teachers here. And I'm sure the staff did too, that the teachers also get a lot from you. Tonight, we're going to have a presentation on how we want to diversify more our teaching staff and making sure that our teaching staff reflects the students we have. You helped with that, so we really appreciate that as well, the fact that you came. Wish you all a good trip home to your home base, and come again, is what I say. Come back. Thank you.
Dennis or Susan? Susan, is there anything that you wanted to add?
I just want to commend you all for taking this big risk in your lives to come and try teaching and seeing what it's like in another country. Before I retired, I was a teacher myself, and I never did that. I had some friends in college who had gone to other countries, and I did not, and it's an opportunity that I missed and I wished I had done. So I think for all of you, it's a wonderful thing to get this experience and to learn here and to share what you have as well. So again, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, and thank you to our Chelmsford High, I'm sorry?
Dennis?
He said no. Yeah.
Actually, over this.
Can't see him.
Thank you to our Chelmsford staff for being welcoming. And then I'll turn it over to you.
So the fellows are going to stay with us for a little bit to watch a government meeting, and when they are completed, they may not stay the whole time. Don't get too excited, it's a budget season, but then when they'll exit, and I'll help them exit at that point. So I'd like to take a picture with them. If you're all available, that would be great. It'd probably be easier maybe if you guys went that way. What do you think? Would you want them?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. I'd just like to take a picture, just to memorialize. Every year, I can make a quilt with it at this point.
Yeah, you're in the picture.
Yeah. Would it be
You're getting
easy
out of
for
the
them It's time for the young people to grab a little snack while we take a picture. Have a glass of water. I have a face for radio. Come on. Dr. Mary, come on, everybody. I have a face for radio.
Some of us have to sit down.
Come sit, I want you next to me. You make me look better. Are you gonna be able to get it? Go behind and then. Oh, yeah, there's 0.5 on there if you wanna zoom in.
It didn't.
Can I help you?
No, I'm good.
First time?
Oh, this is perfect. Alright, all set? Alright, I get a bunch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your review depends on that.
I'll send this over too.
You too. Nice meeting everybody.
It's great to meet you all.
Actually, not bad.
That was great. If they make it through the budget meeting, we can give them like an additional outing.
Yeah.
Yes. If we make it through the budget meeting.
All right, continuing on with the agenda for tonight, our second item on the main agenda is a presentation on our strategic plan committee. For those watching, we have 5 different priority areas under our strategic plan. And one of the things that we agreed to at the beginning of the year was to have each of the 5 topic areas come to one of the school committee meetings and present out some of their work. So this is actually the 5th group. This is our human capital and staffing group. Diane Carey's our HR director, and John Morris is our science coordinator for the district. And they're going to provide an update for you on the 5th priority, just to kind of forecast for you at the next school committee meeting in March. Tess from District Management Group is going to come and do that first kind of half-year review, because we said we were going to do a global review halfway through the year, and then we're going to do another one in July. So that'll be coming at the next meeting, kind of a full recap. But tonight, we're going to hear from Diane and John a little bit about the 5th focus area, which is human capital. So we'll turn it over to you guys.
Great, thank you, Jay. My name is Diane Carey, I'm the HR director, and our group is made up of Joanna Johnson-Collins, myself, Joshua Blagg, the principal of Parker Middle School, Betsy Dolan, the assistant principal at Byam, Terry Gilbert, the principal at South Row, and John Morris, the department coordinator, who's here tonight, for K through 12. Okay. So this theory of action is the same theory of action that you've seen in the other 4 presentations, and all the initiatives are following this same theory. And these are the 5 strategic planning priority areas, and our group, again, is the human capital and staff group. Okay. So our focus in terms of our priority areas are to increase collaboration with the outside teacher prep programs with the focus on diversifying the Chelmsford staff, as Maria had mentioned, and the percent of instructional staff who indicate that they feel adequately prepared to differentiate for our diverse student population, and then the percentage of staff who report feeling equipped to be able to provide culturally responsive instruction. And this is a snapshot of how we will measure our success by looking at the percent of instructional staff adequately prepared to differentiate with diverse student populations, the percent of staff that's equipped to provide culturally responsive instruction, and then increased collaboration with teacher prep programs. And I'm going to turn it over to John.
Thank you, Diane. So for our group's work, what we had to do is we had to look at, this past year broke down to 2 core initiatives. That first one was going to conduct a newly developed staff survey, get some data, analyze the results, and come up with a plan. The second part, before I turn it back over to Diane, which is going to be about identifying teacher collaboration programs that are going to diversify our staff applicant pool. So that first initiative, there's a lot of information here in this table. But what we did as a group is we actually used the platform Panorama, which you've heard quite a bit about this year. Panorama is great because it has a whole question bank associated with it, and there's a lot of those questions that are actually directly tied with our strategic plan. So what we did as a group is we said, okay, let's look at these questions that are in here that align. And we came up with 2 surveys. One was for our teachers, the other one was for our support staff. The teacher survey was about 30 questions, and the support staff survey was 16 questions. Ended up with about 70 to 80% participation when we gave this last spring. So after we gave this survey, we get this data, and then late spring and early summer, we're able to get together as a small group and look at, okay, where are some areas that we have to identify as some possible growth opportunities? So we looked at cultural awareness, based on what our staff said, educating all students, and also teaching with equity in mind. So those 3 core areas, based on the survey results, drove what we did for PD that we've been offering this year. Now, this survey that we gave, we're actually going to turn and give the exact same survey this spring. The reason we give the exact same survey is because we really want to see, we got this data last April, we had our PD this year. Now when we survey the staff again in a month, we can actually look at that growth. And we can identify this not only just by question, we can break this data down by school, by department, not just the entire district. So it really helps us, when we get together with building leadership and also coordinators to say, where are some areas that we can target as we go into next year's plan. So if you take a look, that one area that does say we're on hold, that is not on track, is just what I had mentioned, how we just have to give that survey. That's why that one says it's on hold. In terms of professional development going forward next year, There is opportunities we could look at partnerships with youth, maybe go back to looking with ideas for some options that we have. But again, it's been a lot of good feedback from staff this year to, have a survey, answer questions, have their input really be directly used in how we look at PD going forward this year. And I'll turn it back over to Diane.
Great, thanks, John. So this initiative here, identifying teacher collaboration programs that will diversify our staff and applicant pool, we've been working over the last year. And the first initiative is outreach to UMass Lowell and Merrimack to formalize teacher prep programs. We have two formal programs with both UMass Lowell and Merrimack, and we have 6 fellows this year. We have 4 from Merrimack and 2 from UMass Lowell, and so we have 1 at Byam, 2 at Center, 2 at Harrington, and 1 at South Row. And the nice thing about these programs is we can have as many fellows as we want. And additionally, what we did at the end of last year is we were also in contact to update our listing and reintroduce ourselves to colleges in the area, and with the hope that we'll be able to start to look at building our student intern or a teacher intern or student teachers rather, and start to build those relationships. And the second partnership is brand new for Chelmsford this year. That is a partnership with the Massachusetts Partnership for Diversity in Education. The MPDE is a recruiting consortium, and it's made up of public school districts that are looking to locate candidates of color and help to build their diversity amongst their staff. And so, again, we're brand new to this group this year. Their big event is a job fair that's coming up in March, on March 16th. You may have seen the flyer in the superintendent's newsletter. And so we will be there. We'll have a presence there. And I've also joined a subcommittee because in addition to their main job fair that they have once a year, we're looking at how we can do some regional job fairs as well. And so that is new for us this year. And then the third one is to continue to attend job fairs. Mass Hire is one of them, MERC, which is the Mass Educational Recruiting Consortium. That's a big career fair it's going to be April 18th this year. We went last year, we'll go again this year. And now is about the time we should also start to get invited to other job fairs at local area colleges, so we'll make sure we have a presence there as well. And these initiatives will be ongoing. Okay, and that's it. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions, comments?
I wanted to ask what, I had heard about the possibility that we have a pathway coming in for our own students who might be interested in education as a career.
Yeah, so I can't speak directly about that program. That would be with Katie Sims.
Okay.
Coordinator. However, I can tell you that we have several courses that do align from a dual enrollment perspective. We have several students who are interested in education. We've had students act as their internship for term 4 with teachers in the district. And that is also in collaboration with Mass Hire in the state in terms of some extra funding opportunities that come in with that.
That's
But
great.
there is an interest with our own students. And I think that's a testament to not only what they want to do professionally, maybe down the road, but also how our staff forge those relationships. And they see those staff every day and they say, this is what I want to do. And I think that's a nice thing to see.
Wonderful. Okay, so that's going. And I think your group came up with that idea. So I really appreciate that you did. It's great.
Now, you mentioned your partnerships with UMass Lowell and Merrimack, in terms of people coming in here. Are they seeing an increase in diversity in their programs of people that are attending their programs? Are they, so are we seeing more people, diverse people coming to us because the programs are more diverse, or?
We just started to, this is a brand-new initiative over the last year, so right now, where it's a new program for us, we'll start to look at numbers and look at demographics as our program continues to increase. I'm not sure about the colleges themselves, if they are.
If you want, I can just give a quick thing to speak to that. We started partnering with Merrimack, I believe, 4 years ago. So this is our fourth year. They have a fifth-year fellowship program at the school where students, not only from Merrimack, but other colleges, if they have an undergrad degree in education, can then go for a fifth-year master's program. So the district basically sponsors the student through the program. We pay the program fees, so the student goes for no cost. In turn, they come and work in our district as a kind of like a co-teacher type model. So we've had that for the 4 years with Merrimack. It's not a particularly diverse group coming from for that particular school, but what we have targeted are specific areas where we know that we have issues attracting candidates, special education, things along those lines. The nice thing about the fellowship program is typically at the end of it, people come out dual licensed. So oftentimes your elementary folks are coming in with the elementary 1 to 6, and they're also having the SPED pre-K to 8. So they're coming out dual licensed and they're very flexible as far as employment goes. If we haven't done as much, we've primarily focused at the elementary level for that. If you do know you have a particular niche in, say, like middle school or high school, if you had a particular opening coming up, you can target a particular content area to be able to focus for that. We just haven't done that yet. Wanting to kind of grow diversity in speaking with UMass Lowell, some of their student population is just more diverse than we're seeing at Merrimack, so we're hoping that that starts to grow. So this is the first year that we actually took 2 fellows from UMass Lowell. We're kind of developing the program as we go. But we sponsored them in the district, and UMass actually, I think last year was the first year, because they had just started the undergrad program in education, so their 4-year people were graduating and moving on, so that we had 2 of them actually stay to do that master's program, and so they were both housed with us in the district. I'm hoping that that's going to actually be a more diverse group going forward. We've gotten very good feedback so far on the program, so I think that's something that can only expand, but that's our hope.
Do we end up hiring some of these people that are?
Certainly, I mean, it really depends on like what jobs we have available. But I know like this year in particular, as we get into the budget, we're going to have several, particularly at the elementary and middle school level, special education openings. And all of those candidates coming out of both programs, so those 6 people will be duly licensed. So they could do special ed, they could do general ed. I don't know what their necessarily preference is going to be, but that's certainly our hope, because we've invested a year into them coming here to work in the district. We'd love them to stay and want to work here.
So with our work with Merrimack and UMass Lowell, these are students at Merrimack and UMass Lowell that take this 5th-year fellowship and then come to Chelmsford. Are we doing anything in Chelmsford to help, say, like our paraprofessionals or anything, if they decide that they wanted to go back to school to become a teacher? Do we have a program that supports that at this point?
We don't. And that's been something that we've started talking a little bit about regionally. So there used to be some significant grants that the state made available for that. I know like Lowell really took advantage of that. The grants have honestly not been there, particularly for suburban districts.
Right.
I know the state had some grant funding. Primarily, they focused it during COVID and coming out of COVID for the candidate pool that had the emergency licenses.
Right.
So they weren't necessarily paraprofessionals, but they may have been anyone just new to the teaching field that got the emergency license that they're trying to help kind of move to like an initial stage. So a lot of the state money has gone that way.
Okay.
It's certainly something that we've talked about and potentially want to try to work on. I don't know that we necessarily in Chelmsford would have the capacity to do it on our own.
Right.
We would probably be a better partner, like regionally with Merrimack Valley.
Right.
If a number of districts were going to get together and support some kind of an enrollment in that type of a program. I know Lawrence actually is spending a good amount of funding. They received a specialized grant, though, to be able to support it. Again, I think it's just a little more in tune to like a Lowell or Lawrence population.
Or urban setting?
More urban setting, but we're trying to make some headway and see if maybe there are some other districts in the area that would want to partner or be able to access some funding for that.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's an excellent idea to pursue that. We probably have a lot of paraprofessionals who start to envision themselves in that role, and I think it helps support them. I do have a question about the diversity care coming in March. I know you're new to this group, and I'm looking at the flyer here, MPBEs. Do you know what kind of outreach they're able to do to attract a diverse group of educators to come to the fair?
Yes, they've been doing this. They've been doing this for quite a while now, and they are sending flyers and reaching out to all the colleges and universities to let them know that we will be at this fair. And there's about, I want to say there's about 50-plus districts that are members of the MPDE. So again, one of the other challenges too is we're all competing for the same candidates, so.
I think that would also be a challenge on
Yeah.
MPDE's end to
Right.
attract people to come from various different backgrounds. I'm glad we're part of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that what it is?
What's that?
Say have a good rest of the school year.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
We're already counting it down.
It's gonna be March on Friday.
It's March.
It's spring outside.
All right, and, we'll give them a second. Good job.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, have a good night. Thank you very much for coming, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Somebody survived your classroom, Donna?
It's true.
Only a couple days.
It's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Certainly
Bye, thank you very
kids
much.
to be able to ask questions
Yeah, good.
about what education is like there.
Yeah.
And also for the fellows to see what it's like, in a pretty big, urban high school, so.
Yeah, Paul, you can get a better chair now. Okay, third item on the agenda this evening is our personnel report for the month of January. Just a little bit of activity. We did have some additional new hires, primarily in the paraprofessional role and lunch and recess aide role at the various schools. We had a couple of individuals resign, and we had a retirement. So that's just a list of the personnel transactions for the month of January for you. Any questions? Great. And then the fourth and the kind of primary focus of the agenda this evening is the budget review. This is the fiscal '25 budget. I had presented at our last meeting early in February the highlights of the budget, and then this is typically the meeting that we actually go page by page through the budget, answer any questions you may have, take a look at where we're allocating our funds. In the budget book that you have on page 11, bless you, page 11 is the summary level totals. So all the pages that follow that basically feed up to page 11. So what I would recommend we do as tradition is actually start on page 12. We would review the school committee budget, answer any questions again, actually make a vote to approve that budget and then move on. And at the very end of the process, we would just approve the bottom line figure, which presently stands at $73,880,000, reflected on page 1 and also on the last page of the budget. And then ultimately, that number is what's included in the town meeting warrant vote for April. But that's what we've done historically. I think it's worked out fairly well for us, so I'd recommend we start on page 12 and kind of go from there.
And just to clarify, this will be a roll call vote?
Yeah, so we will do a roll call vote on each page of the budget, and then we'll do one final roll call vote at the end, because it is money.
So Sharon, I'll try to remember to count myself this time.
It's okay.
All right, that's good.
Okay, then.
So the first page of the, number 12, is the school committee page. This is the DESI function code 1110, with a bottom line figure of $34,310.
All right, take a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 1110, school committee in the amount of $34,310 as presented on page 12 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions, concerns, discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 13 is function code 1210, the superintendent line item, with a bottom line budget of $498,441.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 1210, superintendent, in the amount of $498,441 as presented on page 13 of the budget book.
Second.
Is there any discussion, questions?
Just on the contract, so what falls under contracted services on that?
Contracted services is primarily the money associated with the website development and management and maintenance. So when we created the communications and media director position a couple of years back, we listed that under my office, the superintendent's office, because they work closely with us on the whole redesign, revamping of that. So any of the funding associated with that position and like support of the website and things falls under contracted services. So we have a contract with the company that actually built out our website and then hosts our website. We have fees we pay to them for the hosting, but then if we ever wanted to do an upgrade or something like that, that's what that funding is for.
Great, thank you.
I have a question too. I guess I never understand why we put communications and media director under superintendent, because that is a position that serves the entire district for sure. And it's a required position. There's no way you can function as an administrative team without that communications and media director position. So
Right.
why do we have it under there?
So when we didn't have one prior to a couple of years ago, and that was a primary focus of ours. We wanted to kind of revamp communication, and it was a point of emphasis, so we actually allocated it with me, so that would be kind of a point of emphasis out of central office. So it would have to fall in one of the 5 primary areas at central office, either myself, Assistant Superintendent Hirsch, with Joanna Johnson-Collins, with personnel, or Bill Silver. And for the time being, because again, it was our focus, we said we would actually just categorize that under my office. So if it wasn't under my office, it would just get funded in a different piece of the budget. But we really wanted to have that focus and emphasis being on the communication plan and have, ultimately, I'm responsible for it. So that's why we had that happen.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? All right, we'll vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Thank you. Next is page 14. It's DESI Function Code 1220, the Assistant Superintendent's Office, and the total budget is $277,806.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 1220, assistant superintendent, in the amount of $277,806 as presented on page 14 of the budget book.
Second.
All right. Is there any questions or discussion? Okay. We'll vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Thank you. Next is page 15, DESI Code 1230. This is a district-wide account with a total budget of $500,700.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 1230 district-wide in the amount of $500,700 as presented on page 15 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion?
If just on the vital record preservation, it's a open item, used in the past, is that something we only do occasionally, or?
Yeah, so this is a line item where we're actually just recording actuals for right now. So actuals hit in '23. We have several kind of storage rooms or file rooms in the district. We have some here at central office. We have some at McCarthy Middle School. We also had records that were in the ComEd building over at Westlands. Over the years, as like central office moved around, records were just kind of placed in different places. And we wanted to actually digitize those records so that we weren't reliant on paper copies or trying to figure out where they are. So we had a couple of former secretaries who had retired that we actually just pay as a part-time job to come in and actually scan and digitize those records for us. We typically would allocate their funding, the actual salary, to like an open line item within the district where we had funding, but we want to be able to record the expense to a true line item. So it's not something that we budget for, but the expense like in '23 was the $37,961. So that's for reporting purposes where we're actually allocating it.
So those costs would be covered by extra money at the end of the year, or how's it?
Well, no, but it would normally be like extra money within like appropriate salary lines. So if it was like a secretarial salary line, something like that, that we have an excess in, we would just be charging it off to that right now. But we wouldn't want to reflect, say, the secretary line being, say, over if it wasn't truly spent for that. It was spent for digitizing the records.
I had a question on the copiers. So we purchased the copiers in, I think, January 2020. Do we have a replacement schedule? Will that just be an ongoing thing, as needed, one for one type of thing? Or are we going to do a whole-scale replacement at some point, or?
Yeah, I'll give a quick overview, and then Joanna can go into more detail if you want to. But as a district, we have a lot of photocopiers, obviously, in the schools and whatnot. Typically, when you buy a photocopier on state contract, it comes with a 3-year warranty, so you're not paying anything for 3 years. After the 3 years, when the warranty is up, it turns over to like a per-click contract, so you're paying based on the number of actual copies you make. Once you hit the 3 years, a copier that's traditionally like in a school setting, like a teacher's room or something like that, is getting enough action. We actually want to retire that copier after the 3 years because it's got its use out of it, and it's not worth paying the per-click rate. But a copier, let's say, that might be in just a main office or like an office building here that's not getting the heavy traffic. Sometimes you might be able to get 5, 6, even 7 years out of that copier if it's well preserved. So those, you have to make a decision and actually say, you know what, it's more economical to keep them a little bit longer and just to switch over to the per rate. So we have an inventory Joanna tracks with Bill Silver of all the copies of the district, how many annual clicks they get. And last year, the other thing that kind of threw this off a little bit is obviously, none of our equipment was really used during COVID because we didn't have kids in school. So it was almost like a false sense of, underutilization because we had a year and a half when we didn't have school taking place. No clicks. So that wasn't a good year to have free clicks because we weren't using them. But anyway, so this current year and then next year, we actually are purchasing some additional copies for the district. And again, Joanna can kind of speak to that. That's why we increased the budget for this past year. There were some machines at the big center at the high school that were getting replaced. This year, we're going to do another buy. Sometimes we might even go to like the one-time funding if we wanted to really do a buy. But there is a schedule and there is a plan. I don't know if there's anything more specific you want to touch on.
Everything, superintendent said, plus, we look at the number of copies it has, so some have 1 million copies, some have 2 million copies, and right now, we just rotated like 3 of the higher usage areas to a lower usage area to try to eke a little more out. And of the big fleet, 8 of them, we're getting quotes to see what would it cost versus the per-click cost to replace them, and then as the superintendent said, we're gonna do the big machines in the copy center. Those are, I think a couple are 10 years old and one is like 14 years old and it's been refurbished, so it's time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right. Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. In favor.
Thank you. Page 16 is DESI Function Code 1410. This is the Business and Finance Office with a bottom line budget of $493,157.
I make a motion to approve DESI Code 1410, Business and Finance, in the amount of $493,157 as presented on page 16 of the budget book.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 17 is DESI Function Code 1420. This is Human Resources with a bottom line budget of $356,507.
I make a motion to approve DESI Code 1420, Human Resources, in the amount of $356,507 as presented on page 17 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I noticed the substitute coordinator is going up quite a bit. Was he, what, particular reason or?
No, I just need, so we currently had a .6 individual in that role, but just based on like the number of days per year and the number of hours per day they're working. They also help in the HR office coordinate like our long-term leaves and things like that to make sure that we have long-term subs covering them and when they come back, everything kind of works smoothly. So the individual, when we approached them, was able to increase the number of hours that they're working for us. So that was the recommendation to allow that and to budget for that.
On this line item, what are the contracted services?
So the contracted services line, we're actually recommending decreasing that this year a little bit because the line hasn't been fully expended. But we got into this, I want to say, 4 or 5 years ago. We had a number of employees who would request a workplace accommodation for some type of a medical issue that they may have or something. And if the accommodation was processed and goes through HR, we didn't really have a funding source to be able to pay for whatever the accommodation was. So we said at that time, because it's the HR office that really would go through the process of having the interactive dialogue with the employee and figuring out what they need accommodation-wise, looking at medical documentation and making that approval, we would give them a budget to be able to actually purchase the equipment if it was deemed necessary. So this is actually just as a way of example, we just didn't happen to use much of it recently, but like if there was an individual at one point in time that had an issue with like heating, so there was a special air conditioning unit that needed to be purchased, so now we actually have a line item to be able to charge, we're not like scurrying around looking for the money if it happens. We've had an issue where an individual needed, say, like a standing desk instead of a sitting desk, so we would have a budget to be able to purchase that once the request was processed properly through HR. So that's the intent of that line. And again, we're just recommending it actually go down a little bit in budget because we just truly haven't been seeing it lately. But it'd be something we'd monitor, and if it ever went higher, that'd be something I'd bring back to you with a recommendation to adjust over the course of the year.
Are there any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Next is page 18. This is DESI function codes 1430 to 1435, legal services and settlements, with a total budget of $123,000.
Make a motion to approve DESI code 1430 to 1435, legal services and settlements in the amount of $123,000 as found on page 18 of the budget book.
Is there any questions or discussion?
Is this a year where we are going to have negotiations for collective bargaining?
Yes. I know you're very excited about that. We kept it high last year because we were coming out of negotiations, but we actually this time of year, next year, after the first of the year, we'll start negotiations again with all of the groups, so we decided to keep it at the negotiation level. That's why the $75,000 is in there.
So contracts expire at the end of
25. Well, at the end of next school year.
Yeah.
In June of 25.
Okay, so a year
So
from.
normally you start negotiating 6 months prior.
Yep.
So right around January of 25, we'd start
It'll go by
negotiating.
that fast.
I know it
Until
does.
we just finished the negotiations.
Yes.
I know.
All right.
It does, though.
Wow.
Any other questions or discussion?
I just have a question. Legal settlement, so is that just on decisions that have already been made and
No, we actually, as you can see from the actuals, we really haven't had any in the last couple of years. We had none in '22 and '23. I don't think we're having any this year. And so we decided to lower the requests for next year just
Okay.
because the history has been there. We wanted to leave a little something. This would be specifically related to like special education
Right.
and some type of maybe like a service or something that was necessary to be made up after the fact, but we haven't had any lately. Again, I think it's a good idea. We have to keep the line because you'd want to record it if we ever actually had an actual, but we're just reducing that budget down to a smaller amount.
No, I could be wrong, but I think that the municipal side has to renew their legal contracts. Is that correct, Paul? You have to negotiate your contracts with the attorneys on the municipal side? Like we're represented by a certain firm, like a town meeting. Does that change, or does that just go on until you decide you want it to change? And I was wondering, do we ever, do we have a contract that runs out and then we have to renegotiate or something like that?
We kind of, on the school side, I assume the town's the same, but I mean, Paul, you're welcome to jump in. We have a rolling contract
Okay.
with Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. They're our general counsel, so that's E&D.
Right.
And they would cover like collective bargaining, any just day-to-day legal questions we would have about operations of the schools. And they have like a fee that we just pay them. We have a backup attorney if Andy wasn't available. The school committee, I want to say, almost after I came on board, so 7 or 8 years ago, wanted to just take a look at their service, primarily for cost. It wasn't a question about the service we were getting. And solicited proposals to take a look at other firms. ultimately held some interviews and decided to stay with Murphy, Hesse, Toomey, and Lehane. So they've been consistent with us for quite some time. I think you may be thinking, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, the auditor, no, but the auditor role.
Oh, maybe,
Was
okay.
something that came up at the select board a couple of years ago where they had to change auditors every couple of years. We'd had Powers and Sullivan for a while and then switched to a different audit firm. That was something in, I think, the town charter. But, no, for us, we have that, and then we have separate counsel for special ed.
Right.
We have Tom Nuttall's group, Nuttall and Joyce, they're our special ed attorney. And again, we just have a contract with them. It's legal services, so it's not required to be bid or anything.
Okay.
You can just enter into an agreement with the firm of your choice.
Okay. All right. I think I must have been thinking about the auditor.
The select board appoints counsel annually. They have, since I've been there.
Annually, okay,
Appoint for a fixed term annually, every June.
okay.
So, they have looked at firms as, changed in the past, and made changes. Most recently, a few years ago. And then the audit firm, they did amend the charter, so we have to change the principles after 5 years.
All right, great. All right, thank you.
We'll be into the third and final year of our audit contract.
Thank you. Is that something we should review?
The audit contract?
No, rather than just rolling it over to,
Well, I mean, it's something the school committee can talk about at any time. I think, it wouldn't necessarily be a discussion for tonight.
No, I agree.
But,
I agree.
there is, I think when the committee went through this the last time, the rates that we're currently paying are very competitive with other firms of that size that would support us on the range of issues that they would be asked to support us on. And there is something nice about the history and the fact that, that particular attorney in the firm have had to have represented the committee for over 20 years. So when you get into collective bargaining, they have the case history. If you get into any cases, they have that history. It's a nice convenience to have someone have that longevity because, again, like school committee members can change, superintendents can change, and you have that whole track record.
Wouldn't want to change going into a negotiation.
No, I agree. I agree. But I think it's something to keep in the back of our minds that, maybe it is at some point, just to double check, so. All right, any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you. Page 19 is Function Code 1450. This is a district-wide MIS with a total budget of $1,591,197.
Make a motion to approve DESI Code 1450, district-wide MIS, in the amount of $1,591,197, as presented on page 19 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion? Was there, I was looking at my notes here about the Raptor system. Is this something that we were taking a look at for next year?
We are taking a look at the Raptor system for next year, but that would likely come forward as a one-time purchase later in March. Bill is soliciting quotes for that. We have that system at the high school now, and we've talked about adding it to the other schools, particularly like McCarthy, when we do that foyer over this summer.
Right.
But that would likely come as a one-time purchase.
Okay. Same with the radios?
Radios as well.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria? Aye, 5-0.
Next is page 20, Function 2110, Curriculum Directors, and the bottom line of $1,421,383.
I make a motion to approve DESI Code 2110, Curriculum Directors, in the amount of $1,421,383, as presented on page 20 of the budget book.
Second.
Are there any questions?
On the languages coordinator, that's happened, when did that position become open?
In
October?
November.
October, November?
Yeah.
Of
In the
last
fall.
year, right?
Correct.
And we're still looking for someone?
No, when it became open after the start of the school year, and it was not an attractive time of year to get an individual to fulfill that role. So that would be a role we'll be advertising this spring for like a July 1 start.
Okay,
So they would be coming on for the next school year.
okay. So this past, ended, so how much of that salary allocation was part of this budget that we're in
Yep.
versus,
No, I know what you're saying, and that's actually a good example of like why, when it comes to March, we'll have extra money to do like the one-time purchasing.
Right.
It's because if you do have any position of the district, if you had it budgeted and there was $50,000 budgeted and you only spent 10, then you've got $40,000 that can be reallocated someplace else. My philosophy has just not been to reallocate on the fly and then end up in a situation where you're now budgeting a new item in a particular fiscal year that you don't know if you're going to carry forward or not in another year. So we usually hold those reserves until we get to the third quarter financial report, which is at the end of March. And then we kind of project what our savings is going to be based on, say that particular position will be in there. If we have staff that go out on unpaid leaves, if we have, we've had some paraprofessional openings over the course of the year, all those little monies will add up, and we'll have a number that we actually allocate then to say what's available for one-time purchasing. Or if we want to prepay tuitions, that's been something we've done as well. This is going to kind of fall into that suit. So when Joanna did the last report, and it'll come up again when she does the report after March, and she talks about how much the savings is potentially in the salary accounts, it's because of those open positions.
okay. So for this coming year, though, we are projecting that we're gonna have this full position.
So we budgeted, yes, we budgeted as if it was there. The only thing that we normally do on an administrative job is we go back and budget it at, say, step one, because if someone's been here for 6 or 7 years, they get replaced normally with a new person. So we budget it at that level, but we'd be advertising this spring, hiring someone, and then they would come on board, say, July 1st.
Okay, we hope.
We hope.
And hopes.
I hope. Every day.
Yeah. It's hard. That's a very difficult position.
It is.
Any other questions?
The language.
I just had one on the course scheduler. Is that just for the high school?
Yes, at this point in time, it's just a stipend that an individual at the high school gets for working on the schedule. And it is something that we're going to have to look at with the individual who is receiving the stipend at the high school is retiring. So it's time to, kind of take a look at that. And also, our middle school schedules are much more complex than they had been previously. So we'll be looking at that at the same time. For the time being, I think it's safe to budget the funds there. If we determined we needed extra money, we certainly could reallocate for a year to get us to the services we need, and then I could redirect funding in the following year's budget.
Great.
We're not going to go without.
No.
If that
Yeah, I
helps
was just
in
wondering
any
if we
way.
should expand it to
Right.
middle schools. All right, anything else? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you. Page 21 is function 2110. This is Curriculum Director's Special Education with a bottom line budget of $1,035,207.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2110, curriculum director of special education, in the amount of $1,035,207 as presented on page 21 of the budget book.
All right, are there any questions or discussion? Okay. Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John? Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you. Page 22, function code 2210, school leadership. And this has a bottom line budget of $3,209,298.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2210, school leadership, in the amount of $3,209,298 as presented on page 22 of the budget book.
Second.
All right. Is there any questions? Discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you. Page 23 is function code 2300 to 2305, classroom teachers regular education. And this has a bottom line number, big one, $26,116,526.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2300 to 2305, classroom teachers regular education, the amount of $26,116,526 is presented on page 23 of the budget book.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
Just on the elementary teacher, kindergarten teacher, going a little switch from 74 to 73, 17 to 18, is there reason there? Or-
Yeah, so that's the results of what we call like a bubble class in the district. So when we do the enrollment projections, all the elementary schools are set up to have four core classrooms at each grade level. If we have too many students, then sometimes we'll add a fifth section, we call it a bubble section. So when that bubble section works up to fourth grade, it basically bubbles out. So those fourth graders move on to middle school, and you have an extra teaching position, which really wasn't part of the core. So it technically falls out of being an elementary teacher. But we ended up having a situation where that happened last year. And however, we needed to add an extra section of kindergarten at one of the schools. I forget which one off the top of my head, but one of the schools had to add a fifth section. So that position, the FTE, not the person, shifted from being a fourth grade bubble to being a kindergarten. So that's why you'll see the kindergarten teachers actually went up one.
Right.
It's just because if we had classified everyone K through 4 as an elementary teacher, you wouldn't even see it. But we have kindergarten as a separate line item for reporting purposes, and then elementary is technically 1 to 4. So it's really just trading off that extra fourth grade FTE became a kindergarten bubble for the year.
Why is kindergarten kept separate? I mean, their salaries aren't different.
No, most of this stuff, quite honestly, is for reporting purposes. It's the way we have to report the data to DESE. It's so DESE can do comparisons of one district to another. Even the way we actually report, like, say, middle school, like we report middle school grades 5 and 6 as just middle school. And when you get to 7th through 8, it's actually reported as the core. So it's like English, math, science, things like that. It's for reporting purposes.
And the two math are the two specialists that you wanted to add?
Correct. So that was the recommendation, to add 2 of these kind of elementary mathematics specialists. We're still kind of working through job descriptions and things like that, but primarily to basically like split schools. So they would have responsibility in 2 different schools to really help focus on the mathematic initiatives that we have with rolling out of the new curriculum, doing the support of the teachers, implementing the lessons, doing some co-teaching with them, taking a look at the utilization of like the interventionists and the tutors we may have, helping, kind of organize the groups and the services and things along those lines. So the recommendation was to start with 2 and let us kind of work through those 2 and see how this pans out. Ultimately, I'm assuming if this works well, and we're going to support it, I'd love to eventually be able to add one so that each building had one, similar to the model we have with the reading specialists at the schools. Like we employ 2 dedicated reading specialists at each of the elementary schools right now, and we don't have a mathematics counterpart. This would be kind of a move in that direction.
So they would be like on the teachers' page?
They're teachers. Yeah, they would definitely be a teacher. They'd be in the teacher grid.
Okay.
But the duties would be a little bit different because they wouldn't necessarily have like their own classroom. It'd be more of a support role.
So at this point, I mean, the reading specialists are actually teach students. These math teachers, right now, their role is to support other teachers?
So there's nothing prohibiting them from actually teaching students, right? But because we would only have 2, and they would be splitting 2 different schools, this is what we're still kind of working out right now. I don't see them actually having like a full caseload in a building because they wouldn't be there enough to do that. So they would be more supporting the teachers in the rollout, in the implementation of the new math curriculum. They would kind of become the experts in that math content, get all the PD trainings and be the people that kind of bring it back to the schools, do the model lessons, the co-teaching with the teachers so that they're really comfortable. At some point, if we're able to add more, then yes, maybe they could take on a course load. I could definitely see them kind of more of a coaching role, kind of even like when it comes to the interventions, the tutors, kind of working with them around how to best practices and implement the different curricula. But I don't see them having like a traditional caseload like the reading teachers have right now.
And that's only initially, but then moving forward,
I'd want to work this model through, because and I'm kind of basing this off the fact that, again, we do have limited resources and can't do it all in 1 year. When we had implemented the elementary assistant principals, because we'd only had a principal in the building some years ago, the first year we did it, we actually had a split model. So we hired 2 assistant principals and they split schools. That was actually helpful for them because it kind of helped kind of prioritize like what their roles would be, how they'd get acclimated to 2 different cultures. I think it was a lot of work, but I think in the end, just being able to kind of work through the kinks before then that following year, we added 2 more so that they were then school-based. again, assuming this works out well, I definitely see ourselves in the future expanding this model. But this will allow us to at least kind of set the groundwork and the footwork to then be able to expand.
Will they eventually end up on the next page, like the reading? So I was looking at where reading is, and there's specialists in reading is in its own category as teachers reading.
Teachers reading, it could.
Okay.
If they, that's just because they're more teaching.
Okay.
But and again, if we ever decided to make that move, we would just have to figure out more for like, again, reporting purposes and things like where to kind of code their costs, the expenses. But for the time being, where they were kind of, had a math focus on them, I just felt putting them under math would be the most kind of transparent thing to do.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions or comments, discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 24 is function code 2310. This is teacher specialists for regular education with a bottom line of $2,317,006.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2310, teacher specialist regular education, in the amount of $2,317,006 as presented on page 24 of the budget book.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
Can I assume that tutoring line has gone down because we can't find enough tutors?
Twofold. Yes, I mean, just to make the budget work overall, I needed to find some savings throughout the budget in different areas. So this is one that, because we have not been able to hire, just because of the market, the tutors, we've had a couple of years of, budgeting full, but then this has been an account that's been significantly underexpended. So I didn't want to put another, because we're still having a hard time hiring. So I didn't want to put another year of full budget there and not be able to expend it when we could reallocate some of that anticipated, unfortunately, under expenditure to say the math positions and things like that, to have that be more the focus.
All right, any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Thank you. Page 25. This is DESI code 2310, teacher specialists for special education, with a bottom line budget of $8,419,421.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2310, teacher specialist special education, in the amount of $8,419,421 as presented on page 25 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion?
CHIPS is going down by one position, or is that a reason?
Yeah, so it already went down by one this year.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was, last year, the number of students going from CHIPS to, and they were substantially separate in the ASD program, up to Harrington when we added that second program, one of the teachers actually traveled up with the kids to the program. The position at CHIPS didn't have to be backfilled. So that's why it's reflecting as 7. 7's kind of like the snapshot in time right now.
7's enough to staff that program?
Yeah, so that's a program that's going to be a little fluctuation. So it's really just, it's like a 2-year window where we have the kids over there.
Yeah.
So it's really just based on enrollments. If we ended up getting more kids to come in now, because primarily it's taking care of the students on IEPs, that's what we would end up doing. We'd hire more teachers if we had to. But based on the current caseload and what they know they have coming in, the teachers that they have are sufficient.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 26 is SC Code 2320, Medical Therapeutic Services, with a bottom line of $540,626.
Make a motion to approve DESI code 2320, medical therapeutic services, in the amount of $540,626 as presented on page 26 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, is there any questions or discussion?
Yeah, can you just explain the OT position and what's going on with that? I know it's going from grant to.
Sure. So we currently employ we currently employ 4 full-time occupational therapists who are on our books. They're our employees. We also contract for OT services through a third-party provider, primarily at South Row and I think a little bit of CHIPS. And in just talking to Amy again, when we're looking at budgets and things like that, because of the number of students coming up again from CHIPS and even with our new autism program at Harrington and the number still being relatively high at Byham, there's a need for additional BCBA support. Instead of contracting for more hours on the contract, because it costs more than just actually having the employee on your own, we made the decision to bring a person on staff, because you can actually get a full-time person for less money than we're paying on the contract. So that's going to be a savings for us. It doesn't overly reflect the savings here, because you've got, not only are we hiring the OT, but when we're expanding the program at Parker for ASD, we've decided to, because there was a contract previously for one of the programs, we're going to do that in-house in grades 5 and 6 of the school, so there's going to be a little bit of a cost savings there. All these cost savings basically are offsetting the grant. The grant is going to pick up some additional para positions, though, that we have, because it's easy to put a para on the grants because you're not paying the extra retirement. You have to pay extra retirement if it's like a teacher on the grant. You don't have to, it's a para, it's kind of a convoluted thing. But in the end, it actually is just reallocating these costs to the grant.
All right, are there any other questions?
So in hiring another occupational therapist, hiring one physically for us, and that's a good possibility. I understood that these positions were like the worst to find again.
Oh, they're definitely hard to find.
Yeah.
But
So you might have to
but if we're
subcontract.
currently, no, we need to hire, because if we're contracting for 0.6 and we need a 1.0 to maintain services, we wouldn't want to contract for a 1.0, because we're going to pay a lot more through the contract than if we actually could just hire on our own for the 1.0.
No, I understand that, but because they're hard to find, might you end up having to still contract?
It's not outside the realm of possibilities, but to fill these jobs, it's a lot easier to hire someone full-time. There's people looking for more full-time jobs as opposed to part-time
Okay.
jobs. So I'm hoping by able to do it full-time, that they would see that as an incentive.
That same person who was looking through the contractor will just come straight to us.
Yeah, we would hope.
If they're looking to be
That's the hope.
full-time. But there are some people that just want to work, say, 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And then the contracting works for them. But we're at the capacity where we need a 1.0, not a 0.6.
Right.
So it would be more economical to just actually hire the person.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis, Susan,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 27 is function 2325 substitutes, bottom line of $811,000.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2325 substitutes in the amount of $811,000 as presented on page 27 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion?
Just I don't know, any particular reason why we break out retired teachers? Do we pay them more, or is that?
Yeah, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. Yes, you are correct, and the rates we pay are listed there, so when we have the file, and the people come from like ASOP, our subsystem, right into the payroll system, it's just easier to have the categories match up with the rates.
Okay, so these are teachers that have taught for us, or they're retired now, just coming back to?
Correct.
Yeah, anyone who actually is a retired teacher, whether it was from Chelmsford or another community,
Okay.
if they chose to credential that they were retired, they get paid a higher rate for the day-to-day subbing. And I think to Joanna's point, it's easier for her payroll-wise to kind of break it out into two different lines.
Something to keep in mind, Donna.
They raised it up after I started selling.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All
So same money, just a reallocation within the lines.
right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you, page 28, function code 2330, paraprofessionals, and the bottom line figure of $4,815,040.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2330 paraprofessionals in the amount of $4,815,040 as presented on page 28 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion? Okay, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Page 29, function 2340, library, media centers, bottom line, 838, 241.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2340, library media services, in the amount of $838,241, presented on page 29 of the budget book.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Do we have a retirement in librarians? Is that why the money's going down a little?
We do. Yeah, so it's still budgeting for the four librarians. Roberta Baricelli, who's the librarian at Parker. Yeah, Roberta's retired. So there's just an offset in the retirement cost of the new librarian coming in.
So we can start hanging out together.
Yes, you can.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
John?
Aye. Let's pay
Aye.
attention. Don't think you're gonna get me. That was me.
Aye. 5-0 in favor. I was just getting bored, so I thought I'd switch it up.
Mix it up, right?
See if I was awake.
I know, right?
Page 30, function 2357, professional development, bottom line of $218,775.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2357, professional development, in the amount of $218,775, presented on page 30 of the budget book.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? The only question I had was this, with the professional development that we're working on with the strategic plan, are we going to have like a mapped out plan of what the professional development will be and, you know, kind of what the purpose is and how it may be helping our staff, you know, kind of move from one point to another? Like, I don't know.
No, I hear what you're saying, and like annually, that's something that we actually do is put together the PD plan for next year. Ironically, Linda was working with the admin group this afternoon
okay.
to start kind of identifying for next year what the PD would look like, because we have like content level PD.
Right.
We also have school level PD.
Right.
The different strategic plan areas, as you indicate, each kind of have some areas that they want to focus on. So we did kind of a little brain dump today to identify all the different areas we want to focus on. And then we get back together again in April. We'll start kind of divvying out the PD schedule to figure out topics and presenters and things like that. So before the end of the year, it'll all be flushed out.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John? Maria? Aye, 5-0.
Next is page 31, function 2410 to 2415, textbooks and instructional materials, bottom line of $470,324.
Make a motion to approve DESI code 2410 to 2415, textbooks and instructional materials, in the amount of $470,324, presented on page 31 of the budget book.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
Yeah, are we fully implemented now in the new math? So there was a big expenditure obviously last year and last couple of years, so
We've rolled it out,
everything, at all grade levels, we were gonna do it
Yes.
at, including high school. Yeah.
including the high school.
And is everything like physical textbooks, or how does it
Yes.
work?
So, we do have the digital licenses, which are great, but those are usually 6-year licenses, and I make sure that they have a class set and a textbook per child, just in case something happens with the digital license. Or you can't fund it in 6 years.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Page 32, function 2420, instructional equipment, bottom line 183,600.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2420, instructional equipment, in the amount of $183,600, as presented on page 32 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion? The only question I had was on equipment maintenance art. This is including both fine arts and performing arts, correct?
And digital arts?
Oh, for music?
Yeah, music is separate.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Hirsch is correct. Most of the music stuff is under the supplies,
Okay,
like the instruments.
okay,
Yeah.
all right,
And
gotcha.
this is,
All right.
So, for art, digital art is a big thing right now, is bigger. Including photography, all of that stuff. Is that part of this equipment or is it somewhere else?
it's probably under supplies.
Supplies again? Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 33, function 2430, general supplies, with a bottom line of $613,258.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2430, general supplies in the amount of $613,258 as presented on page 33 of the budget.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
This continues us buying the supplies for kids. Is that under this item?
One time.
No.
No, so we've been doing that under one time.
And I think I had asked about the special education evaluation supplies.
You did ask me, and I honestly forgot to check. Let me see if Joanna happens to know. Do you know the, under special ed evaluations for 42.5, what that 42.5 is providing?
Yes, those are exactly what you said. These are the, Amy purchases all these evaluation materials.
Okay.
From different vendors based on grade level and student, what they're evaluating the student on. And,
Okay.
Yep.
Kind of like restocking some of the evaluation
Yep, there's forms and.
tools that we already have, yes, new
Yes.
forms and all that, okay.
Yes, exactly.
All right, is there any other questions? Discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 34, function 2440, other instructional services for special education, bottom line $215,000.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2440, other instructional services, special education, in the amount of $215,000 as presented on page 34 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, questions or discussion?
Just, I don't know, what is the crisis intervention contingency for special ed? What is that?
Home hospital tutoring?
The crisis intervention?
Yes.
Yeah, would you?
Yep. So this is two components. You know, crisis intervention is like the CPI training, things
Right.
like that. And then contingency is a different category of supplies that Amy uses this for when something comes up, really targeted to a student, something that comes up in their IEP specifically for them, like maybe a special harness, or maybe a special chair, or maybe something very unique, not just general supplies, you know, for the special ed classroom or for the program.
Okay.
Any other questions? Discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Page 35 is function 2451 to 2455, classroom instructional technology and software, totaling $785,000.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2451 to 2455, classroom instructional technology and software in the amount of $785,000 as presented on page 35 of the budget book.
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion?
Just with the software seems to be going up like $50,000 every year. Is it because we're buying new software, or is it just costing us more?
We're not buying a lot of new products, it's just the products that we're actually, we purchased and that we're utilizing, the subscription costs are going up. So it's not like we're adding a lot of new titles or a lot of new programs. It's just more costly to operate the programs that we have.
This is like iReady and all.
Yeah, I mean, iReady's a big one.
Excel is another one that costs us money.
Okay.
So it's usually the instructional software that those prices go up, plus the cost for the PD.
Where's like the panorama that we keep talking about fall into
So
this?
Panorama right now is being funded through one of the ESSER grants, so that will be funded again next year through ESSER, because
Okay.
it qualifies under that grant, and then we'll have to decide how we're going to continue paying for
Okay,
it.
so eventually that's gonna get,
Yeah, that's another title that we're gonna have to figure out how to fund.
sure it's only a couple bucks.
It's only a few dollars, it's fine. I'll pass the hat around, we'll be great.
So for instructional software, it's becoming a budget item that looks like the same thing as the books and the instructional materials. It's substantial.
Does this also include, for example, I know that sometimes you can have a free program, but the program itself is free, but then you have to buy a license for a student to be able to use it, so it might be a specialized reading program?
Yeah, like Lexia, those
Yes.
type of things, we
Okay.
usually buy a certain amount of licenses for
Okay,
students.
all
yes. Free doesn't get you.
Right, doesn't get you anything. You have, but I know that some kids in their IEPs may have they have a specialized reading program, and then we have to purchase a license for them to be able to use that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. All right, anything else? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Page 36, function 2710 to 2800, guidance and psychological services, with a bottom line of $3,084,284.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 2710 to 2800, guidance and psychological services, in the amount of $3,084,284 is presented on page 36 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion? I did have a question about the STEP program that we're going to be implementing. Okay, so we're putting it under, for some reason I thought we were putting under contracted services for special education on page 34, but that's actually something separate then.
Not the STEP program.
Okay.
The STEP program was going to be in the local budget.
All right.
Do you know what else you could have been thinking of?
No, I think I was thinking maybe hospital and home tutoring, because those might be contracted services if we're using tutors.
We do contract for some.
Okay,
It all depends on like where the child is placed.
Right.
Sometimes we can't bring the tutor in, you have to
Right.
use their service
Right.
to do that. But no, this was going to be a locally funded
Okay.
position, kind of modeled on what we had done at the high school some
Right.
years back. And the high school had started out with a kind of a guidance counselor position.
Mm-hmm.
The high school step guidance counselor is still here in this piece of the budget. That's why we're putting it here for consistency's sake, as opposed to putting it within SPED. And this will really be kind of a liaison, working directly with those struggling students as they're coming back from hospitalizations and outplacements into the school, working with the families, with the student, the teachers who are going to be supporting the student, whichever hospital the kids are coming from. There's just a lot of casework that's involved. And absent that, it falls on the regular counselor in the school who has another caseload as well. So we really think this is very worthwhile.
Question here in terms of the social workers, and we have 4 positions. So some schools share a social worker. So for example, middle schools share one, is that,
So there's two different things going on. So with the social workers, we actually have 3 that are district-based.
Okay.
There's one that kind of focuses on elementary, one middle, and then one the high school. The one that's at the high school, because it only has one building, is primarily at the high school. The other 2 float around the district. The 4th one is actually an offset to the guidance counselors. So at the middle schools, McCarthy Middle School, for example, always had 3 guidance counselors. And when Parker's numbers were going up, this is before the merger, when Parker's numbers were going up
that's right.
about 2 or 3 years ago, they necessitated a 3rd support staff, a 3rd counselor. They had 2 guidance counselors. Instead of hiring a 3rd guidance counselor, they opted to try hiring a social worker. The skill set's a little bit different, and it's really benefited Parker quite well. The social workers, and not that our other staff are phenomenal, the social workers typically just have a little bit of a different training. They have a little bit more exposure to some of the outside agencies as far as like coordination of programs and services, and they have just really liked that individual at the school, the model. So we still have 3 counselors at each building. It's just that 3 are pure guidance counselors at McCarthy, and at Parker, there were 2 guidance counselors and 1 social worker.
so in reality, if we were going to look at roles and positions, we really have 3 social workers.
In the district that are not tied to schools, correct?
Okay, because, and this is, this year, we have to go with whatever we've got. But in terms of going forward, one of the things we've been talking about quite extensively in equity is the role of the social workers and how important that role is in making sure students with need, other than special education and so on, but just needs, especially economic needs, social economic needs, really, really need the role of the social worker in their lives in order to be able to have equity in our system. So just, I think it's important to note that that's really not for social workers.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. There's 3 kind of district social
But that
workers.
guidance counselor is necessary. And I understand that there's,
Right.
that role is also necessary. So that is something very important, especially in our town, where we really don't have this as much at the town level. It's at the schools. So, okay. That more and more, that's becoming that is a necessary role.
Is there any other discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan? Aye. John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Page 37 is Code 3200, Medical and Health Services, with a bottom line budget figure of $994,870.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 3200, medical and health services, in the amount of $994,870, presented on page 37 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Page 38, Function 3300, Transportation, bottom line budget of $4,647,758.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 3300, transportation, in the amount of $4,647,758, as presented on page 38 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion?
Just, is the increase for homeless transportation going to be enough? I know that's already an issue this year. 'Cause I know nothing you can predict either. It's not something that we can.
No, it's obviously coming in higher, and this is one of these kind of budgeting dilemmas. So it's coming in higher this year than the budget. It's something we have to monitor. We're probably going to have to transfer some funds to later in the year, but that'll be part of our kind of cushion budget-wise. It's obviously increased here because we see that number going up as opposed to going down, but it is hard to pick a particular number, and I'd almost rather try to manage that as an offset to some of the savings that we develop over the course of the year, as opposed to right out of the gate, potentially, overfunding that line and then not having enough resources elsewhere in the budget. And again, it's not a perfect science of kind of guessing what's happening. I'm comfortable managing the budget with that number.
That's money to transport students to other districts, or how's it even work?
I mean, a couple different ways. You want to talk them through it?
So it's a cost share between the 2 districts, regardless of where they go to school. So you have your school of origin and your school of residence. So this funds, if a student lives at a hotel in Chelmsford, but is going to school in Lowell, we pay for half of that transportation. Or the other way around, if a Chelmsford family ends up at a hotel in, Westford, Westford and Chelmsford would cost share that, and we would pay, half of that. So it's both ways, and it's the family's choice where they want to go to school.
And is the state reimbursed at any of that, or
Yes,
supposedly?
yes. It's in arrears. So I'll file in my end-of-year report what we've spent on homeless, and then they will reimburse the districts a portion. I think we're down under, 50%, sometimes under 30%. It varies each year. And then that comes in in our case, the town happens to record that reimbursement. Yeah.
So the offset to, I'm sorry, was anybody else had any questions? All right. So the offset to our bottom line for transportation is roughly 430,000. That's the fees that we've collected?
That's what we're recommending it go up to next year.
Okay.
We've been developing a little bit of a
Yep. Yes,
What's that?
reserve.
reserve, and we're going to apply a little bit more of the reserve to the local budget.
And then when was the last time we changed bus fees? Not that I'm recommending that, but I am curious, when was the last time we changed it?
We haven't changed them since I've been here, so I don't honestly know. It had to be 10-plus years ago,
All right.
bus fees.
My kids paid.
But do you know when they ever looked at the rates, or?
It would have been somewhere around like 2009, 2010, 2009, I think it was.
Because I do think it's important that people understand that, we're looking at roughly 430,000, in a, 4 million, budget. That's not a lot. And I know that it feels like it's a lot when we're asking families to pay for bus fees, but transportation sure is expensive. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to get any better for us, because we're in the first year of our transportation contract? Second year? Second year? And then we're up next year?
Yes, and then there's 2 one-year renewals.
Oh, right. And I just don't see it, coming down. And I think we're almost held hostage because.
It's not going to, well, you mean the new contract rates?
Yeah,
Well, they're not going to go down.
No.
They're only going to go up. It's just a matter of how far
Right,
and how
but,
quickly.
it's not like we have other options.
No.
So, all right. All right, anything else on that happy note? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Page 39 is function 3400 food services. Bottom line, 129,691.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 3400 food service, the amount of $129,691 as presented on page 39 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 40, function 3510 athletics. Bottom line, $876,489.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 3510 athletic department in the amount of $876,489 as presented on page 40 of the budget book.
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion? And again, I think it's just important to note, if you take a look at the total amount that we're applying from gate receipts and athletic fees towards the, the bottom line there, it's still a very expensive program.
It is.
And I think, a very necessary one. I think a lot of our kids benefit from it, but I think sometimes, as I said, it's really hard to understand when you're paying those fees, how much of the impact is, and it certainly helps, but it's still an expensive program. Does anybody have any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Page 41, function 3520, other student activities. Bottom line of 204,440.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 3520 other student activities in the amount of $204,440 as presented on page 41 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion?
Just on this, we collect, I know we do collect minimal activity fees for like the middle schools. Any reason why that's not shown as an offset here as well, just so we have?
No, it certainly could be, and that's something we can look at, like the formatting. I forget one of the other pages kind of breaks that down. In one of your appendices, you kind of have the full listing of the clubs and things.
Right.
But we could show it graphically that way. going forward.
Because the activity fees probably don't pay the full.
Oh, they don't?
Right, so again, like Donna pointed
Right.
out, that we're collecting these fees, well, we've reduced the fees quite a bit, but they're not paying for the entire programs.
Yeah.
that We're putting on there, which are great programs.
The
Right.
list of the programs are on page 94. And then,
Yeah, and page 95
And
tries
page
to show
95.
the offset.
Okay.
To your point, though, like, that wouldn't affect the bottom line that you approve.
Right.
So
Right.
for presentation purposes, we could go back and tweak that to be consistent with the rest of the book.
all right, any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
94, I'm sorry. Page 94. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
5-0 in
It
favor.
was in your mind, wasn't it?
I'm s-
I know.
I apologize for that.
Page 42, function 3600, school security, bottom line 218,737.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 3600, school security, in the amount of $218,737 as presented on page 42 of the budget book.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? So the SROs that we have at the schools, that comes out of the police department budget?
Yeah, correct. They're like license, what do you call it, regular offices with the police department. And so they're budgeted on the police side.
That's actually very nice of them.
It is very
Yeah,
nice.
really nice of them. And I think there's a lot of school districts that
Yep.
have to pay for that.
No, we do, it's good. We have 3 excellent offices,
Yeah, we really
full-time at
do.
the high school and the 2 middle schools.
And Aussie.
Well, I guess 3.5, right? No, he's a lot of fun, too.
Paid, does he?
Now, with the 4
No,
I'm sorry, the 4 supervisor students, 1 in each middle school, 2 at the high school, is that how?
Correct. 2 at the high school, 1 at each middle school.
Any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 43 is functions 4110 through 4230 custodial services. Bottom line, $2,093,814.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 4110 to 4230 custodial services in the amount of $2,093,814 presented on page 43 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion?
Just again, we have positions coming off a grant to going on the main budget for the custodian. Is this
Correct. Yeah, we had a position that we've been carrying on the ESSA grant, which is running out.
okay?
And it's been a crucial position to us because we only have 1 custodian in each of the middle schools. So that third body has been kind of floating between the 2 schools. It obviously helps us if someone's ever out sick or injured or anything like that. So we've had it for a couple of years. We've become reliant on it at this point. We need to assume that in the local.
So that same person will just stay on and just be on the main.
It's just the funding source will switch.
Okay.
Is there any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 44, functions 4120 to 4130, heating of buildings and utility services with a bottom line of $1,351,200.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 4120 to 4130, heating of buildings and utility services, the amount of $1,351,200, presented at page 44 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion?
These increases enough? I know we're a little over in some of the areas this year, right?
Overall, the category is okay this year. Some are like
Electricity?
like the modular buildings have air conditioning, so that is a little higher than buildings that don't have air conditioning, but overall, we're okay, and I think I used 3%.
Okay,
Is that an
so this will be fine to, yeah.
I think
okay,
so,
Okay,
yep.
just want to make sure.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John? Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 in favor.
Page 45, function 5150, employee separation costs, $242,777.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 5150, employee separation costs in the amount of $424,777 as presented on page 45 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, are there any questions or discussion?
how many retirees this year, do we know?
9
9?
9, and that's teachers, paras, everybody, is that just teachers?
Teachers.
Just teachers? Okay.
I don't know if we have all the information in on the other ones yet, do we?
No, they don't have to let us know.
Yeah, we have certain dates in the teacher's contract where if you let us know by a certain date, there's a different incentive that you can get. So, but we don't have that in the other contracts, so sometimes we don't find out if people are leaving or retiring until later.
And 9's kind of average, what we
A
usually.
little low.
A little low, okay.
I mean,
Every year they.
I'm very happy that
Yeah,
we're
no,
only
it's good.
having the 9,
Yeah.
but, and it really does speak to the workforce being very, stable on that front. But, we never have a ton, but I think last year we maybe had 12 or 13. But no, 9's a low year for us.
Good.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
I don't forget people's names now, Donnie.
Eyes are, what's
You,
that?
the short guy over there.
So page 46, you actually don't have to take action on. This is line 6,200 to 7,200, civic activity in capital lands and buildings. This is a page where there's no budget associated with it, but we've just been allocating funds for the, Joanna, correct me if I'm wrong, this is where the turf fields come in?
Yes.
Correct. So what we've actually done is utilized either one-time funding or local budget excess to make the principal and interest payments on the turf fields so that we could actually start to build up a little bit of a reserve in the revolving fund. So again, there's no budget, it's just the actuals reported on this page. So we didn't budget again for '25, so there's no real vote for you to take because there's no money associated with it. But if we do, because this is the last year of the turf fields, so if we do that as a one-time hit, you'll basically transfer money in, we'll make the payment, and so you'll see another action a year from now. But there's nothing to vote on because there's no money there. 47 is function 9,300 tuitions, and this totals $4,151,116.
I make a motion to approve DESI code 9300 tuitions in the amount of $4,151,116 as presented on page 47 of the budget book.
Second.
All right, is there any questions or discussion?
I see in the narrative, you're assuming 300,000 offset to Valley. How do you kind of make that estimate this far ahead?
Sure. So Valley overall is having a good year. Valley had a pretty good year last year as well, and at the end of the year had to turn back approximately $1.1 million to its member districts. And our allocation, do you have the number off the top of your head?
I know the dollar amount number
The dollar amount.
is 208,000
Okay.
this year.
All right, so we got 208 with $1.1 million coming back. It's estimated to be closer to $2 million as the return for next year, which our percentage of kids are about the same overall last. So I think the 300 is actually conservative. I could see it being closer to maybe 400, depending on how things shake out. But until Valley actually certifies closer to the 2 million, I think that'd be too much of a gamble to take, but I was comfortable doing the 300.
Okay.
And you will see, when we do the actuals for this year, because we will have some money coming in for Valley this year that isn't budgeted, and that's in the report Joanna puts together for you. That's one of the reasons we have some excess funding this year.
Any other questions? I have a question on circuit breaker. Do we know what the percentage is going to be this year?
Yes, for,
Reimbursement?
we know
Yep.
that this year we're going to get the 205,416.
Yep.
And that was 75% of tuitions and I think 57% of transportation.
Okay. Are we expecting any changes or?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, that's what the target is to fund it at the 75%.
Right.
That's what the hope is. I think the number that'll vary is the transportation reimbursement.
Okay.
But we basically kind of almost hold that year's circuit breaker in account, so we know it's going to be there for next year.
Right.
If it came in, let's say, less, we'd have an issue for '26, not for '25.
Okay. I was just wondering. I don't know. I'm a little,
Yeah.
Distrustful?
Yes, especially after chapter 70, so I was just kind of curious.
And then just remember, if they don't do 75% of tuition, transportation will be zero. You know, they fund tuitions first, and then they tip into transportation.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John? Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
And the last page, 48, is just your grand total on the budget, which also ties out to the totals on page 11 with a summary of all the different DESI function codes. And this year's budget would be $73,880,000, and that would be the number that we'd ultimately be seeking at town meeting.
I make a motion to approve the total budget amount for fiscal year 2025 at $73,880,000 as shown on page 48 of the budget book.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Dennis?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 in favor.
Thank you very much.
Good job, Dennis. And you too, John, with that second. Man, you're right there. Yeah.
I've been
just-
working on seconds since my first year on the committee. Mike Rigney taught me.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I'm actually impressed by Joanne.
just-
She was able to remember all those numbers.
I know.
Percentages and everything else right off the top of her head.
Unbelievable.
That
So,
was impressive.
process-wise, now you've approved the budget. I'll go in and make just the minor modifications to the narrative that's in the front, because it was all speculative on the budget being approved. The budget pages obviously won't change. I might make that one change just to kind of show the offset, but it doesn't affect the bottom line budget. We'll post that to our website. That will go out to all the town meeting reps. We'll have a meeting with the finance committee at some point over the coming weeks to talk about our budget. They usually have a subcommittee that comes in to talk to us, then we'll do a bigger budget presentation to them. And then we'll have our budget go before town meeting at the end of April.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that concludes my portion for
All
tonight.
right, thank you. Does anybody have any liaison reports?
I do. Is that, you mind if I start? Okay. High school PTO met. The after-prom planning is beginning. They're trying a few small fundraisers to supplement their big ask from the parents a couple of months before the after-prom, which is in May. The PTO, in conjunction with the central administration, did hold a Valentine's Day coffee, cocoa, and cookies afternoon, and it was a big hit with everybody. The middle school's PTO also met. Both McCarthy and Parker meet in one evening. And so it's quite a meeting because they've been doing extensive stuff. The drummer club at Parker will present Any Kids March 8, 9. They're working on ways to fill their new book vending machine, which the PTO acquired. It's a really great addition to the school. Principal Blagg seemed very pleased with what's going on there. The scholarship application for them is due April 19th. And they discussed their field trips for the 5th and the 6th grade. And they talked about busing and how difficult that is right now in order to make these field trips possible. And same kind of problems we're having. Parker Pride Run is May 19th. McCarthy, the 7th grade Black Light Dance is March 1st. And the wonderful thing is that the staff is coming together and donating some of their time to chaperone that night, which is really great, hasn't been done in the past. McCarthy has its big annual fundraiser. It sells out very quickly. It's going to be held March 22nd, and that's the Rock and Roll Bingo. And the McCarthy Scholarship application is due April 12th. 7th grade enrichment is Marion Blumenthal, which is really wonderful. And she is really, she's in her 90s.
Yes.
The Holocaust survivor presentation. Everybody's looking forward to that. Yeah. Both schools, they had a Valentine's Day treat for staff. The calendar raffle is in process, and the Lions Middle School Showboat, which is a combination talent show for both schools, is going to be held at the PAC on May 17th I think that May 18th, May 17th is rehearsal. There will be staff appreciation events coming up for both middle schools. They're trying to do things jointly, around the same time. First, I'd like to give a big shout out to Jen Dussault. She's a teacher, McCarthy. Amazing what she's doing. She's running a math tutoring, which we'll call more than tutoring, extraordinary here, for parents. And she has 16 to 17 parents coming regularly every month to this math tutoring so they can help their kids. So really a great shout out to Jen here. And one request I sent along to Dr. Hirsch for possible development, it was to have Katie Greer's digital health and safety presentation possibly for the middle schools. So I've sent that along as a request. And Center PTO didn't meet yet. They're meeting in March. That's it for me.
Dennis, did you have something?
Just Alumni Associate met a couple weeks ago. Their main focus in the meeting was on their scholarship process. They put a new digital application for signing up for scholarships, and it was great. They had almost twice as many applications they've had in the past. So, the amount of students that are applying and hopefully getting these scholarships will go up. They're planning to be in-person presentations. They haven't done that for a couple of years since the COVID year. So they're planning something in May at the PAC. They have a date, but I don't know what the date was. I'll let you know what the date is. But things like are rolling pretty well there.
All right, John, Souza?
I wasn't able to go in February.
All right, I just want to mention that South Row is having their science fair tomorrow night. If anybody's interested in attending or officiating, please contact Principal Gilbert.
I did want to make just one quick comment. I know that Emily Dilworth she left the Byam, but as a member of the Byam community, I hope people would just keep her in her thoughts. She's pretty sick, so.
I believe that there is a
Vigil tomorrow evening.
right.
I didn't know about that.
At the First Parish?
Yes, First Baptist, I think, and it's at 5 o'clock.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
At 5 o'clock at the First Baptist Church.
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you for letting me, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Putting that out.
Yep.
There is a tremendous amount of support from the community, and I think her family has been posting regularly.
Yeah. She's a super person, so.
She has.
I've known her for like a long time now.
Could I get the name, the full name?
Emily Dilworth.
Is it one L?
Right. And she is currently the president of the Council of Schools.
Yes, and she's also the president of McCarthy's PTO.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Any action items or new items? I had a couple, but did you want?
Yeah, I just wondered if, I think it would be good to evaluate and see where we are with the Fontes and Pinnell as an EL, how we're doing with that in the elementary level. I think it's been in place now, how many years? It went through COVID. It had just started at COVID, so this is a third year or fourth year?
We're in the fourth year.
A fourth year. It's just I'm hearing a lot of commentary from other districts that, that some of the best districts in our state do have this curriculum, but it's not necessarily the best curriculum for teaching reading and writing and so on. So I'm just wondering how we're doing, where we're at, what's the input from staff and from the learners, the kids, how that's going. And then I know that it costs quite a bit of money to do another set of books or curriculum materials if we decided to go with another curriculum at some point. If we're going to do that, when do we start thinking about that and saving up for it? Because eventually it's gonna have to go. And I don't think, and I'm just wondering if this is gonna last as long as our other one did, which our other one was Journeys or something. And it was 10 years, 10 years we had it. So I don't know if this is gonna last that long from everything that I'm hearing. And I may not be the person that's correctly hearing it because I'm really not an educator and not in the education field. So I just like to know better what's going on and what its standing is among the districts and with us in particular.
Okay.
All right, so I was wondering, so I don't know if you've heard, but there's been a big push, I've heard on the radio, and I know that the student representatives at DESE, that group, they sent out a message about post-COVID attendance rates. And, whether, that it still seems that there's a problem with kids missing quite a bit of school. And I was just wondering kind of how Chelmsford is doing with regards to attendance rates. And then whatever types of interventions that we provide for kids who have chronic absenteeism. The other thing too is on February 20th, we received an email from Marion Ryan around public meeting guidelines, so that's worth taking a look at. And again, on March 25th, we'll be attending the Select Board meeting to vote on a member for the Neshoba Valley School Committee.
What date was that? I'm sorry, what date was that?
March 25th.
320.
23rd?
25th.
5th. Thank you.
I know we went through a presentation for the new building project, and we talked about maybe doing some public forums. What are you looking, mid-March, end of March, beginning, what are we?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of feedback that I'm going to incorporate into the slides. And we'll send out so you can all have it, kind of like some talking points and things like that. Talked to a few people to kind of gauge like when it would make sense to have some public sessions and some twofold. I'm certainly not opposed to trying to do something like, mid to late March, if we wanted to have, like, even the target audience be like our Chelmsford school, parents and community, anyone could come if they wanted to kind of get the full overview of the project, kind of where we're at, because everything is going to kick in April. And then the only other thing I was thinking about, I'll talk to Paul offline. I know they do the kind of the pre-town meeting for the town meeting thing. I don't want to like dominate because it's a pretty lengthy thing. I don't know, maybe if once we had the election in April, town meeting gets elected, we did something like after that, before town meeting, so it could almost be like those middle 2-3 weeks in April, and have just an evening where, again, we invite the community, we invite school folks to come out and kind of hear the presentation. Anyone who is, newly elected to town meeting, if they want to have an extra opportunity to just kind of get deeper into that talk, they could. We could do that, so I can go either way, I can do both. I do think it would make sense, either format we do, to tape the session, so we could have it maybe, I think the pack would be too big, but like maybe the McCarthy Auditorium wouldn't be a bad venue. There's nice seating, there's a nice display. We could pretty easily, I think, tape something like that, and then actually have a little show to put out to the community so people can watch it. So they had an opportunity to come. If they couldn't come, they could certainly just watch to kind of get the flavor for it. But I'm open to the group if you think towards mid-end March would make sense, or if you want to wait until we have the town meeting or the town election, and then kind of do it between town election and the town meeting presentation as well. That's fine with me. Or I can do both. Whatever your wish is.
I mean, the more we get the word out, the better, because there's still some people like, oh, we're gonna do a new school. They still don't tell us.
I know.
To us, I mean, we live in it, like every day we're thinking about it, so.
And I feel like March is better, because April, we got town elections, but then we only have a tiny bit of time, and then there's school vacation week, and then there's town meeting. It's gonna happen quickly, so March, if we can do something in March.
Maybe towards the end of
might
March,
be a little
yeah.
Okay. Let me look at some potential dates then, towards the end of March. We certainly can do that. And then, again, I'll talk to Paul offline, but I'm sure there's something we could put together for the pre-town meeting. Just any of the new reps. We could obviously invite any of the current town meeting reps to the session. We could send them an email just so that they know about it. But then anyone who's newly elected, offer some kind of a session afterward, just so that they can get the full picture of kind of what's happening. Because it'd be a lot to consume, I think, on just town meeting night.
I'm wondering if it doesn't also make sense to possibly add in a session that's digital. Where we send out a link, we say we're available at this time, or you can also view it anytime at this location. That might help with some people for attendance.
Jay and technology though,
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes it goes well.
But it will, there will.
I still have nightmares about that bad COVID meeting that.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I was thinking about that one.
I know, but since then, I think there have been a lot of meetings that you've done digitally that have had quite a bit of attendance. And I think it's because of people's schedules. They just need that.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not opposed. So I mean, like, that's, we certainly could do that as well.
And this is me proposing it, when I know that there's those challenges technically, but
I know you have faith in me.
I
now.
know, I'm having faith in this. I think it would be really good.
Okay, I'll put together a little mock schedule for you.
Okay.
And I can email that out before the end of the week. You can take a peek at it.
Great.
I wanted to also give you a chance to talk a little bit about, because I don't think it's been brought up, the coffee that you had, the coffee hour.
Yeah, so
How did that go?
Linda convinced me, no. Pre-COVID, we enjoyed doing them. So we just called them kind of community coffees. We'd get together and just go to a coffee shop and sit down and really just talk to anyone that would want to come in about school issues. Some people are just hesitant to either call or, come meet one-on-one, but in like a less formal setting, they're willing to do that. And we had to obviously stop during COVID, but we decided to kind of revise them this year. So we picked 3 or 4 different dates over the course of this year. We had our first one a couple of weeks ago at Java? The Java Room? The Java Room. We have another one coming up in a couple of weeks, so we'll start pushing that out on social media and things as well. We may try the new coffee shop Euphoria sometime for a session as well.
It's next week.
At the Java Room,
No, it's next week, if you're saying your next one.
but at the Java Room, right?
Well, you wanted to try Euphoria, we can go wherever
Oh,
you'd like
well,
to go.
it's coming up.
But it's
So
next
we'll-
week.
we're
It's happening.
We'll get out the news. But, no, literally, you can just come in, you can have a cup of coffee, and you can sit and just kind of talk about any issue. There's no agenda. Linda's there, I'm there, and.
Jay's very
even-
inspiring.
I can be. Even the last time, there were probably
Maybe
10 to 12 parents that I hadn't met before, so they were people in the district. They had kids in all different levels. We had a couple that actually came in, and they really hadn't heard about the school building project, but they had kids who were going into Parker next year, and they were curious to see, how they may be impacted. And I had to tell them it was probably going to be their grandkids that were impacted, not them. But so, it was a good conversation to just kind of get them up to speed. So no, definitely, it's another good way of doing things. So we've got those coming again. We've gotten good feedback.
Super.
All right, is there anything else, any other action items or new items?
I have.
Yes, sorry,
It
Susan.
might not, I know it doesn't take the same level of priority as the building, but I would like to, before the school year ends, hear another report about, since we had that deep dive into special ed, what's happened more over the course of the year about redefining the roles of the paraprofessionals.
Sure.
Hear a little bit more in depth about how that's worked out.
I'll just give you the quick 30-second, and then we certainly can do a report on it. The committee's been excellent to work with. We've had 3 meetings already facilitated by Tess and the DM group. It's a working group of, we have, I'm there, Amy Reese, the assistant sped director is there. We have some building principals, assistant principals, a number of paraprofessionals at all different levels of the district, elementary, middle, and high school. We've been really kind of breaking down everything, starting from scratch, taking a look at, what would the ideal role of a para be? How are we using paras? How could we change things up? So that's all ongoing. Between March and April, the end of April, is when we kind of develop like what we would actually really think it should be. And then we shift from April to June to like, how do we actually operationalize this? How do we share kind of our findings with staff in the district? Not only paras, but like teachers who work with the paras. So I do think before the end of the year, I just don't know exactly when it would make the most sense, but certainly like, the May, June timeframe, there'll be a report that comes from that group and like some action steps for next year. I'm happy to bring it to you and report it out.
Okay.
All right, do we have anybody for second public comment session?
We don't.
Okay. Any emails that need to be read into the minutes? Oh, and then, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 in favor. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.